Mhm.
I don't have a heat exchanger in my furnace. Went out last night. I'm an electrician, so I made it work all night, you know what I mean? And kept the house warm, but
Oh, really?
Manitowoc Heating and Cooling is there telling me you got a bad heat exchanger. It's either $2,500 for a heat exchanger or $4,100 for a new furnace. And a price for heat exchanger, might as well just do the whole thing.
Yeah, nice choice. Okay, we're ready. We don't have to pledge allegiance or anything like that. We can just really begin. And we have two issues here. One is an issue for information and some discussion, which I think, will need to be on the agenda for some kind of recommendation in the future, I guess. That is the pools, the three pools other than the swimming pool at Lincoln. And then the Jefferson Playground, of course, is what we need to make a recommendation to the board on that. So you want to tell us about it?
Sure, the pools. So one of the things as we wrapped up the project at the high school with the new Dectron unit, which is a heat exchanger. It takes the heat out of the air before we exhaust it out of the building, because that air is expensive. We heat that up. And we also heat the pool water. And so by the nature of the energy, there's a lot of energy that goes into a pool and a lot of cost with the pool. So the other three pools, I don't know if you knew, we have four pools. And we have two at each of the middle schools and one at Riverview.
Yeah.
And Riverview, the original purpose of Riverview Elementary School was it was a county like special ed building.
Yeah, that's right.
And that pool there was intended as a therapy pool. So just so you kind of get a little bit of a history of that. And my purpose today in bringing this to this group is just so you guys understand as we start looking at the facilities and capital improvements and costs and things like that, I think it's important to be able to have a business decision on how much does it cost to run a pool. We have four pools. They're all used a little bit differently, but they all have costs. And the condition of the pools and the age of the pools, all of those go into factors into each one. They're each a different personality, and the two middle schools are somewhat like twins, I believe. I don't know for sure. I believe they're built about the same time. They're, I think, 5 lanes. They're not a full pool. They're probably between 55 and 65,000 gallons. I don't have that exactly. I thought I had that information in my computer, but I couldn't find it before the meeting, so I apologize for that. But between 55 and 65,000 gallons each. Riverview is about 40,000 gallons. And they're used differently throughout the year. Historically, Wilson was used the most. The city of Manitowoc would have a swim recreation thing, and they used one of our sites. They typically used Wilson more than Washington. I'm not a very good historian because I've only been here 7 years, but so the city does use some of our pools for their recreation type stuff. Washington has been primarily being used their pool through November through March. I think they have a swim season, and then I think they have some PE stuff that goes on. And similar, the last few years, similar with Wilson, because I think COVID kind of goofed up some things with the city that I think they're trying to, it's a very popular program. I was made aware by the pool or the parks person asking if we were going to vote tonight to keep the pools or not keep the pools. I said no. It's just basically to let the board or the committee know that the costs associated with the pool, the age, the condition, and some of the things. I said I want them to know that if they want to continue to use the pools, there's some money that needs to go into getting them, repaired or things of that nature. And I think it'd be a healthy discussion to learn both sides of the issue. So I'm bringing only one side of the issue, and that's the maintenance, the condition, and costs. You can talk with and I encourage you to talk to the staff and principals about what the swim looks like in their building and things of that nature. So then you get both sides of the coin. I'm not recommending one or the other. But I think it's something that's important as we move forward, that you keep this in mind and have that moving forward. So, any questions about kind of the history and that stuff? Otherwise, I'll kind of go through each pool and kind of give you an overview, very quick overview of what we've got, what's working, not working, or what it does or doesn't have. And then I'll kind of tell you what the costs look like. So at Washington, again, it's about a 55 to 65,000 gallon pool. The Dectron unit is not working at all. It's been dead for a while. Before I arrived, I think it quit working. And that's kind of the nature. It's got a lifespan shorter than most because of the corrosive nature of the environment. You know, the caustic nature of the acid in the pool and the water in the air. So to redo that system and get it up to par, the estimate is between probably $150,000 to $200,000. And then energy costs for a thumbnail, and again, they don't use it 9 months a year. They use it half that. Figure about $10,000 a month, roughly. So between 70 to 90,000 if they were going to do it for a school year. And they could if they chose or had interest and people to do things with, but that would be, so to operate it, I'm going to for annual, because Lincoln is an annual cost because I want to try to do apples to apples. So 75,000 to operate Washington's pool, not counting the repairs.
You don't know the intensity of the use, do you? I mean, if they have a swim team or something like that.
I think they,
that's an awfully expensive swim team.
Well, Matt,
My question is, so are you estimating 75,000 right now is being spent at Washington to keep the pool?
10,000 a month, because they're only using it November through March. So, you know, November, December, January,
I
February,
know what
March.
you're trying to do with the year, so you're saying 10.
Right, so yeah, current operating costs about 50,000.
Okay.
Same thing with Wilson. And Riverview, that's used all year round.
And mainly electricity or?
That does the electricity for the pumps.
According.
The chemicals are in there too. The thing I don't factor into there because I don't think it's, well, one, it's not a cost for me, and I don't know that we pay lifeguards like some facilities do when they have swim after school and they have lifeguards, they have a pool manager, and they have labor costs. The PE teachers, from what I know, and Angela could probably speak to a little bit more specifically, because I think there's been a little bit of changes in the last couple of years to providing extra support or eyes during some of those things because of an incident that happened.
Yeah.
So I won't speak on the labor because I think that's kind of included, but as far as hard costs, pool chemical costs are certainly things. Electricity to run the pumps and motors, and then the energy costs for electricity or gas or electric for air and water. All of those are included. Focus on Energy helped us, crunch some of the numbers. In fact,
How much is the water bill? I mean, just the water.
Boy, that one, I would want to defer to Richard, because when we drain the pool and fill it up, we get sewerage costs and then filling costs. Okay. So I don't have that down, but that would be pretty easy to do. So that's why I'm kind of given a range or a kind of an estimate. I think these are pretty good estimates. I don't think they're too strong or too conservative. I think they're probably really close to what we realize.
So you're fairly confident 10 grand a month once being used? From the audit from Energy.
Right, yeah. In fact, I was looking at there was an email thread with my colleagues throughout this half of the state, at least. They're asking the same things, and everyone's paying attention because we all have pools. And the high school pools that they have now, they're bigger than our pool. They're running about $150,000 to operate. I'm estimating, we'll have better numbers because we have better equipment, new equipment. And we'll be able to monitor with some of the matrices that we have built into the system, the computerized system.
You don't have the MPU agreement though, kind of worked into that for the Lincoln pool, do you? Because obviously you're comparing to other pools in the state. You're not,
I don't know, but what an MPU agreement is with our,
well, I'm saying for the energy cost.
yeah, I can tell you, they don't give us any break.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're helping us and saying, oh, we're gonna donate somebody. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's a business, yeah, even though it's nice to have our boiler room is the MPU.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
it's nice
The
to
steam-
have.
steam-
We don't have boiler breakdown and costs associated with that. But no, yeah, I don't know that there's any, and Richard would be able to crunch the numbers
Yeah.
really easy. I'm estimating the high school pool to be around $90,000 to $95,000 to operate because of such new equipment, brand new equipment. We'll be able to evaluate that after a year and then see how close we are. I would anticipate pre-new Dectron unit and pre-new chemical system and some of the motors that we replaced. I'm thinking that was probably more close to about between 100 and 120 annually. The thing that kind of goes difficult with is the therms that we use. Right now, we're using a boatload of therms because it's very, very cold. And on some years where it's not this frigid for this long, we're not using as many therms. So that's kind of a fluid annual thing, is how cold has it been in relation to last year. All of our buildings operate that. The pool is no different.
Yeah, sure.
So it's kind of a moving target. That's why I'm kind of giving you a range of that. So back to Washington, the Dectron unit's not working. I'm anticipating anywhere between 150 to 200,000 to, if we were going to make that pool viable for the next 15 years, that's what we would need to do, is start putting money into that facility. The Dectron unit would be probably one of the biggest items we would need. I don't have an idea as to how to correct the water that is the groundwater that's seeping into the Washington mechanical space below the pool.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm not sure if you guys, Matt and Matt, were on the board at the time, but we had a meeting at Washington and I went down my video camera and I think I still have that video. And we know that the woes the city has with 23rd Street being flooded. We have water, we have stalagmites and stalactites growing in our pool concrete walkway around that area because it's so deep in the groundwater's seeping into the building through cracks. It's just been doing that for years and years and years. So that's not affecting the operation of the pool, but it certainly isn't a condition that we like having. It just said, I know that will take a lot of money to try to repair and fix and do, just like the part of that building that is sinking into the mud, the gym, that those two items are related. And that's going to take some serious engineering and design work and underpinning of the building to prevent that from sinking anymore, and creating doors that don't shut. And, there's a whole host of Mother Nature ground problems on the west side of Washington that have been there for many, many years.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you had a structural engineer take a look at this?
Yes.
And did they give you an estimate on how to fix this?
No, we didn't have money to start it, but the first thing I wanted to find out is how is this building still moving? He said, well, I could give you a cost estimate, but you could do it pretty easy with some blue painter's tape, date it, put it in an area that a kid's not going to mess with it, and that will rip pretty freely, and see how long it takes. So they put, I think, tape at 2 different locations.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. I don't remember the duration. It wasn't a half a year. It was a half a year or less, and the tape had ripped.
Wow, that's really sinking.
So there's some movement. Is it seasonal?
Quarter-inch gear or something.
Is it seasonal? I don't know. So
It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Right. I did use that structural engineer when the Lincoln ceiling had failed. But, so with the Wilson pool, moving on to Wilson, that pool is about the same size as Washington. That Dectron unit is not working either. That pool is used similarly to Washington, November through March. Energy costs are similar. I'm estimating about 8,000 to 10,000 a month. And the Dectron unit would be similar in size, so that'd be
So
about
these
100.
Dectron units are same age, about the same age?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know for
And how
sure.
long have they not been working? For quite a while.
Over 7 years.
One was not working when I arrived. I mean, I think the other one was working, but it doesn't, I don't think it's working now.
Okay.
And knowing that it was too far gone to repair. So another 150 to 200,000 roughly for the pool Dectron unit at Wilson. Riverview does not have a Dectron unit at all. So, and I say similar, Washington and Wilson, just think of them as kind of bookends. About $75,000 a year to operate, with, everything but labor and maybe filling and sewerage of the pool, but the energy and the chemicals, things like that, the consumable type things. Moving on to Riverview, that pool is, I think it was between 36 and 40,000 gallons. That's used pretty much all year round. I know that they have some program use in that pool for children with special needs. I'm estimating that to operate about $50,000 a year, between 40 and 50.
This is what?
Riverview?
River,
Oh, Riverview.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yep, Riverview.
I got you.
But Wilson must be used more since the rec department has used that. I've actually. swam
The rec
that pool.
department used it pretty
Yeah.
frequently before COVID
Right.
and we had our pools shut down
During
after
hot summers,
COVID.
people would go up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens when we have the pool shut down and dry for so long is when we fill it back up, different gaskets and things have to swell and get seated back into things. And sometimes there's some massaging to not have the, like a flange leak at Riverview. We spent a few $1,000s to take the old lights out
Oh,
and
yeah.
cement them in,
Oh, yeah.
because those gaskets were just shot and
Yeah.
we couldn't find the right gasket because of the age. And it's,
Of course.
so it's, you go down that conversation of, well, it's obsolete. You need to try to do something or do that Flex Seal stuff and be creative and try to kit it as much as you can to keep things moving along. So we took out some of those lights. We checked with the city or the county health inspector who inspects our pools. They said, yeah, you're not required to have lights because it's such a shallow basin. So yeah, you can take those out. So we work in concert with the regulators as often as we need to, and we change things. Now, so then I'll talk a little bit about the high school. So those are the three pools that are not like the high school that's used, all year round, from August, when we fill it up in August, or late July for girls swim practice in August, through boys swim season, which we're in now, through whenever that boys swim season gets done. That's 156,000 gallons. We put in about, well, the budget was $500,000. I think we were 120,000 short of that, or the under budget for the Dectron unit. We put in plaster repairs. We redid the chemical delivery system because what we learned was all the plaster sand was being eaten away at the water that was soft water that wanted to be hard, and it was attacking the calcium to get hard. So there's a chemical reaction going on there. so it was kind of like a sacrificial lamb, and our vacuum was so old it couldn't pick up everything. So this year we bought a new vacuum, and those are $8,000 to $10,000 for a new pool vac. Now that pool vac should last 15, 20 years, but those kinds of things all kind of add up. We regrout the pools quite frequently. Again, part of that's just kind of the chemical reaction and nature of the pool water and the grout. We do a lot of that in-house.
Yeah.
The chemical management system that has different carboy pumps that pump in chemicals to keep the balance of the pH and the total dissolved solids and things of that nature. And those run about $5,000. We replaced 2 in the last couple of years. And I think Riverview is about due to get a new one for their pool chemistry. And that's a saving piece of equipment. When you have a pool, you do what I call the wet arm test every day. Every day the pool's got to be used. Someone's got to go in there and do the titration and see what color pink it is with what pH it is.
Yeah. Right.
And things of that nature. So we have certified pool operators at each one of the buildings. And one of our maintenance guys is kind of a backup. We ask that the swim coaches on the weekends that they do the wet arm test because we got to test it. And so there's a cooperation between coaches on weekends and maintenance Monday through Friday to do those kinds of things. And then, some of the pump replacements. Those pumps are pretty big. They last quite a long time. With the age of our equipment now, I did have to replace one pump motor that was $5,000. I don't get sticker shock a lot, but that did sort of shock me. But I know that it's a good pump and it'll last for a really long time. So, but some of those things just, happen, like you're talking about your, heater at home.
Sure. Exactly. Yep.
Some of that stuff, you never know when the time is up and it's going to need to be, well, you do this or you just do the whole thing.
Right.
Anyway,
I
so
think the certainly the Lincoln pool, you just have to pay the rate for that. And that we're not gonna modify how it's used or how long. it's
right,
used.
that's
Yeah. But the other two, I don't know how integral they are to program. And I mean, I went to a college where nobody could graduate unless they could swim 4 laps. And there were kids there the day before graduation trying to do that.
oh,
But I don't expect there's a requirement like that in Lincoln. I mean, in the Manitowoc public schools, is there? I mean, we're not really teaching every kid to swim, are we? Even though we live on the lake.
I'm sorry, I
They
don't
do-
know
they
if
do
there's
have
any
swimming- They do
requirements.
have swimming units
Yeah.
in
Fayette.
Fayette.
Yeah.
They used to have a float, not thinking of the test, maybe,
20 minutes, I think it was.
yeah, you have to,
Tread water.
in order to graduate or in
Oh, do
order
you?
to pass,
Okay.
well, I don't know if it was
That's good.
necessarily
Wasn't
to graduate, but like to,
Pass the swim test for
pass the
junior
swim.
high or middle school.
I don't think that exists anymore, from what I understand, but it used to be a big thing.
But it seems like a pretty expensive outlay for, I don't know how much use. But they're there, and I'm not sure that you can just close the door and walk away.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad, you guys get to decide that, because I had a guy
Yeah,
walking
right.
around, Wisconsin Focus on Energy was at one of the buildings doing some calculations and measurements, and my phone was ringing almost instantaneously saying, "Why are you closing down the pool?" I said, I'm not closing down the pool. We have no idea what these things cost us, so I'm just doing the cost. Well, you better not be closing down the pool.
Who was on the other end?
I'd rather not.
I mean, I don't need to know the name.
No, but it was
An official in the school?
one of the middle schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And I said, I'm not making any judgments at all on the merits of swimming or swim class or anything like that. I want the board to be able to know both sides of we all know and can appreciate what swim does for competition if you're good and you do those things, or just the life safety of living near a big body of water when Racine would lose or have near misses every summer
Yeah, sure.
when I was there for 5 years, and it was a very big concern. So
I wonder.
I'm
when
not-
they
I'm
don't
not
do
weighing
middle schools,
judgment
are they
at all.
automatically putting pools in?
I don't know that any districts are wanting to have more than one pool.
Yeah,
I'll say it that way,
yeah,
to be honest.
that
But
makes sense. doesn't
yeah,
it?
so I mean, I swim. I love to swim. I love the pool. By no means am I trying to prime the pump one way or the other.
Yeah.
I just would like you guys to understand the costs associated with the cost of doing business with that program. And make an informed decision at whenever that decision needs to be made.
Okay.
Yeah.
First, the people that use them have a say on this too, so, we'd like,
Right.
we'd want to talk to
Sure.
them before.
Sure.
And I can anticipate right now what they're gonna say.
Sure, no,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm gonna move on. So I'm gonna look at 2 of the 3 things that are on board book. This one, the first one is just kind of an overview of the bids. We rebid it and, the price didn't get smaller, it got larger.
Yeah, how much was it before, Chris?
Uh,
What were we looking at when we said, oh my God, we should wait and see the prices go down, but,
I wanna say that it wasn't 124% over, or, I mean, I'm sorry. It wasn't, what are we at,
$124,000.
yeah, 125. No.
we're not at 36% over. It was over budget. I'll put that in the meeting minutes. I'll look at
Okay,
that.
okay,
I'll look at the last time we did
Yeah.
this. It was, and we were hoping that the numbers would go down because we got this out a little bit late in the season for bidding.
yeah.
And so you can see, let's go to the second page. That breaks it down per trade, if you will, excavation and landscaping,
Yeah,
asphalt paving, artificial grass, concrete, and then the playground specialties, which are things like benches and bollards and some of the fencing and things like that we have protecting the turf playground. So each one of those that are highlighted are the low bid.
okay, yeah. So Vinton didn't win anything, huh?
Well, that one was I don't exactly know, what was happening there, but there was, I think, some confusion in the bidding procedure, and people were giving their bids to Vinton, and then Vinton gave us the bid.
Oh, really?
And they said, well,
Okay.
you're supposed to give us the bid, because we have a construction manager that's gonna general the project. So we called them and asked them to do that. They did that. And their numbers are more favorable. And so this is the breakout for the bids. And Courtney is here. I wouldn't want her to sit here and not say anything. So
Oh, yeah.
Courtney's the
It's
principal
your yard, Courtney.
at Jefferson.
Yeah.
She was here last time, and
Right,
I'd like her to just share her thoughts on, it's a big project. It'd be very good for the community and kids, and Courtney will speak on that.
yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so as I've shared with you guys before, we have what some kids love to call the mud patch or dry earth, depending on
Yeah.
what time of year it is behind the school. There's not a place to play. They have the playground equipment. They have this patch that was once grass for about probably 2 months, maybe, if we even got that much out of it. And so just offering them a place where they can play. Jefferson very much is a neighborhood play space. We have lots of kids that come back and play at night, on the weekends. And and it's a safe place. A lot of our families don't want their kids going to the public park that is down the street from us, because of some safety concerns. So it is what they deem a space. Many of our students are living in housing where there isn't yards to play in and things like that. So we would like to give them a place to play. If you drive by many of the elementary schools, you see nice, large, big athletic fields where kids can run and run and run. And we don't have that because of the dynamics of where school's located. So offering up an opportunity where there is some grassy play space that isn't going to turn to mud or dirt and then subsequently get tracked into the building, which is a consistent problem that we face all year. So there's that maintenance upkeep inside of the building too. So we're just looking to offer up something for our kids that can have some longevity to it and a place where they can be healthy. I didn't bring it with me today, but we had done a number of years ago, we had done some data collection or in preparation for a grant for some swings at Jefferson, and we tracked some data around athletic abilities of students and fitness off their fitness grams that they do in PE. And our Jefferson students were the least fit students in the district, and we attribute a lot of that to the fact that I don't have spots to go and run around and be outside. So.
I have a quick question. We already approved this, right? We were just going for, we were just waiting for the bid.
We approved the project, but we said in response to the last bidding,
Right.
the three of us said,
We were just
oh my
looking
God,
for the
that's
bid.
way too high, and we thought, well, maybe we bid at the wrong season, or maybe it was in the midst of the COVID thing.
But we approved the
And
project.
maybe like
Right.
it's too
You're
small,
right.
too small a project for, any of the big timers to weigh in on. And so the idea was to rebid it.
Right.
With the expectation.
We rolled the
that
dice.
We'd get a better result, but the definition of insanity. I guess
Sure, we rolled the dice.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
the product, you don't have to sell us on this. I believe we were all in favor.
Oh, yeah,
This has
we're-
to happen.
Absolutely,
Right,
it
okay.
has to happen.
Part of what I can share with you is I asked Brent to talk to the bidding contractors and find out why we had the participation we had. He felt it was a little bit low participation. Like we'd like to see 6 or 7 vendors,
Right.
contractors, even like I'll give you an example, like Oostburg Concrete. They're a pretty sizable outfit and they're not that far away. Outfits and vendors like that said, we've got so much work locally, and bigger work and more long lasting work. So part of this is the dynamics that this isn't a very big project
Yeah.
for some of them. Some of them can make way more money on a longer project that's closer to home in some cases. I know many of the Milwaukee, we get kind of stuck between Milwaukee and Green Bay, and we're kind of equidistant between the two.
Yep.
And we thought we would get more participation from those folks, and the feedback was, we'd love to help. It looks like a great thing for the school, but we can make more money on bigger projects, longer projects, right here closer to home. So there's a number of different factors that.
Well, the infrastructure bill must be like making business pretty good. I don't know. Vips, is that true?
I'm not gonna answer that.
Oh,
I have a few questions about the actual bids. So did we lump it together or did we break it out?
It was broken out.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
So, the field turf, did you purchase that already or?
we didn't purchase anything,
Okay,
right?
so that's one vendor, right? That's
That was,
that's not even really being bid. That's kind of just that vendor that has it or?
that's a vendor that uses that particular product. And there was, Lee Recreation we've used Lee here in our district, they're pretty big throughout the state. They're not the only ones, but, the other ones weren't wanting to bid or, said, no, we're not doing that. It's too far away from our, I wasn't talking specifically with those. But Lee Recreation was the one that said, here's the vendor or the supplier we work with our turf. And so that's what you see there.
Cause I mean, our hugest expense obviously is the turf and then the playground equipment coming from that same vendor. So
Yeah.
170,
Right.
Almost 80 grand, to be honest. I was just wondering if that was the only one that actually returned it.
Yeah, that was the only one that returned a bid for that.
Really? Holy
So that's
cow.
kind of like, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask specifically more about that. I don't know if they don't have,
Do they have any competition in the country or that would be willing to do it?
I
That's one thing I would like to know.
sure.
And then, but maybe that is what it is. And then who all got the concrete? Was it just Vinton and Martell? Or who else bid on it? That gave bids?
Oh, do you want the list of people that were contacted? Would
Not
that help?
contacted, that gave submitted bids. Was it
Oh,
just these two?
if they submitted a bid, it was identified here. So,
Just Vinton and just Martell.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we talked to Irv. I think we talked to SC. I think Irv said that, there's a lot of curbing there. They don't have a curb machine, so they didn't want to do that. Yeah, we were called in locally too.
Okay.
That was.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, what are we, 124 over? 124 over?
Yeah.
And where do we get that money from?
Well, we have this actually listed in our Fund 46 projects, so that is
Oh, okay.
in that publication that we, the board adopted. So we are able to expend the money out of Fund 46. Of course, we would have to we could bring the full amount through that funding source. That would just take it away from the ability to put it towards other projects. But there was $328,000 put aside, but there were some other
Right.
projects kind of earmarked, but, we can push off, that's always kind of the name of the game when you look at prices for the things like this, some projects come in lower, some come in higher. So that's where you're
I
at.
don't know, what about the rest of you guys? I think this has been in the chute for quite a while.
It's been
It seems to
correct.
me a
4 years.
pretty high priority.
Mhm.
It's like,
It's obviously-
and this project would be a solution that would last for some time. I mean, we're not going back to doing
Probably seeing something
soft services here. I mean,
The life expectancy for turf, just like Rubik Field,
15 years, right?
it's about 15 years.
Yeah.
If you're in the southern climes where you don't get snow,
Where there was-
it's probably 10 to 12 years because they use it 12 months a year. Up
Okay.
here, playground, I don't think they're staying off of it during the snow, which does sometimes, especially when there's frost, it could break some of the individual strands of turf. And that was one of the things that we weighed carefully when we plowed Rubik Field during COVID, because the football season was in March. And we asked the manufacturer how to safely get the snow off without breaking and damaging
Yeah.
the turf. So, there is some wear and tear when you use it in winter. I'm not going to say it's going to accelerate it, but that's what we're building it for.
Is it something that could be snow blowed? If we
No.
were able, no.
Oh,
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The best thing we found was to put a PVC pipe on a snow blade, which had a real slippery effect, and the stuff would lay down and not get snapped.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what was recommended. So I mean, and we just because we can do it doesn't mean we're gonna do it every year. And that was one of the things that, is, okay, this is great. We can get this done because we move with no choice to get the football season in. But we recognize that we don't want to make a practice of it at that time with that specific field. But yeah, the replacement costs should be factored in, 15 years, for maybe $250,000, and, try to extrapolate the inflation or whatever. And
But Jefferson School, my kids, went to Old Jefferson.
oh,
And I remember, a PTA meeting in which I was attending, and people were complaining about the hard cement surfaces, the kids at Jefferson.
Yeah.
And it was a political issue. I mean, it was, well, maybe not a political issue, but certainly a cultural one. Like, God, the kids at Jefferson just get the least and the lowest, and they don't have a decent place to play. So the concept at that point of having a grass playground came up, and people were saying at the time, "Oh, come on, you're kidding? That'll last like 3 weeks." But I think they did it. They
Yep.
they
It did happen.
they ripped up the concrete and they put in grass, and then they got mud. And I
And
was
then they
surprised that
they
Krugel would,
replanted the grass.
that
They put in
Krugel would do
sod.
the same thing, when they built the new Jefferson.
They put in,
But they
yeah.
did.
Yeah, this was not that long ago, when they put in the grass space and they
That was
actually put down
First
sod.
summer I was here.
Yeah, so about
Oh,
7
okay,
years ago,
okay.
they put in sod and it didn't last very long at all. So that the next summer they reseeded it and taped it up and like no one goes on it and watered it and all that. And the grass grew, but then kids
Yeah,
come back
then
in
the kids-
August
then the
and
kids come, yeah.
and then it was gone again. So,
Yeah.
and then nothing has been done since. So it's, I mean, a lot of the green that you see there now come springtime is weeds.
It's weeds,
Yeah,
sure.
it's weeds.
But I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing about the Jefferson kids. They're the least advantaged kids probably in the system, aren't they?
I think it's the position of the school. It's just
Uh-huh.
there's no land on that area. So
There's no
that's-
land.
That's
There's
where the
certainly no
problem
land.
comes. I don't, as far as the kids, I think it's the school. It's the
You're landlocked.
geographical location of the school.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Period.
And
Yeah, new school, same line, yeah.
Yeah, and when we looked at, I mean, the original conversations were to look at just putting blacktop back in there. But the
Yeah.
solution, we had talked to a school in Sheboygan that had done a similar solution and were really which was kind of like emulated through the plan. And they were really, really thrilled with it. They're the same, in this exact same situation, basically. And they were really happy with it. And I think it just gives, a more equitable experience to all the kids between, all the different schools in the district. You can't have the vast open fields, but it's at least a little something,
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
And I would want that for our students at all schools, for them to have that kind of a,
That's well argued.
I know one of the point about winter, when we talked to that school down in Sheboygan, they actually said that, for whatever reason, I don't understand all of it, but, when the sun hits it, it does tend to melt faster than really anywhere else. So they don't
Oh.
have, the snow that sticks on it in heavy amounts for long periods of
Uh-huh.
time. And they talked a lot about like the springtime and the kids would go sit on the grassy area because it was the warmest spot on the playground.
Oh.
And they could just kind of like cats bathe in the
really?
sunlight. So, yeah.
I don't know. I want to hear it from everyone. I mean, this is a high priority in my value system.
So it looks like from pricing here, the concrete, overages, the cost increase from what the industry standards going to, for the cost of concrete is in line with what's happening in the market. So I believe that's fair to say that it's gone up that much from previous expenses of concrete, curbing, and just concrete in general. The raw materials have gone up so much. From the emotional standpoint, I want the best for all the students in our district as well. I think this has to be, if we're going to move forward with this, we have to, present it to our community that we're making the investment in Jefferson Elementary. Jefferson, that it's going to be there for a long time. And we can use this as a uniting beacon of what we're going to try to achieve for our district. This is a lot of money, and it does handcuff us other places. So like that's something that Angela articulated very well. So, I mean, I'm not against it. However, if we're for it, we're going to have to make accommodations in other places.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
If Angela, at the time of the board meeting, could say, well, this is what's being bumped as a result of doing this. And,
Well, we probably don't know exactly what would be.
well,
right now.
we don't know, but Angela can tell us.
yeah, I mean, we had like a a drain tile project and a second part of the Washington Cornerstone project. But then with other fund for, those projects likely will have to be bumped anyway, because some of the network modernization for the hardwired and wireless ports that are out for E-rate right now, that are planned for this next year as well, those are coming in higher. So we have to adjust this list anyway, and you naturally have to do that through some of those things. So we can accommodate, that's always going to be the nature of these projects. So I mean, I'd love to say that we can always estimate exactly and stick with it, but I think sometimes the cost of the raw materials are out of our control, and I think if we would wait longer on this, if this is
It's gonna be still more.
it's just gonna be more. And so that's one of the things
Let's say
that,
that, well, we more.
and right now, if we would say go on it, if we get the blessing and the approval, then we can, what would be the slate or the timing on it for the summer?
They would start right the Monday of summer break.
Yep. So
I mean, that's what we would,
That's what we kind of planned out.
we let the bidding contractors know, this is when you can start. Some will say, I can't get there till next week, but what's most important is when they're done.
Yeah, that's.
That they say, well, we can do it, so we don't have to start June 14th. But we can certainly get this done, and they'll coordinate all of that with Nexus's, and getting all the trades lined up to do the different pieces. And that coordination will all be there. So they'll be, the site will be available to them. And we'll tell them when they need to be completed by, and that's the real.
We know we won't have access if this goes through over the summer school
Yeah,
time.
right, yeah.
So that
Send
will
them
be
to the
a
Washington
challenge. We'll have to
School,
figure out, how to get through that challenge of not having a
Yeah.
playground space for the kids during the summer school programming, but we'll figure it out.
It's our,
Sacrifice for future,
Yes.
right, future funds.
Yes.
I never seen
Angela,
Andrews
is-
isn't that far away.
is our-
They've got that big ass.
is our high needs, projects that are kind of in the queue, are they prioritized now?
Well, we do have, we always have lots of projects, like the Madison drain tile project, for example, and the other Cornerstone. Those are all other things that we can use Fund 10 funds for.
But we haven't listed a necessary and priority order to the extent of recognizing, just based on what you said,
Mhm.
that we would like to do these if money affords itself,
Sure, correct, yes.
short of a referendum that would,
Yes.
be covering, something that might be a little bit broader. But I was just, I'm asking that relative to, we have to come back and, look at those projects to make a determination, or we've already made that determination in terms of how we would stack that in a priority way.
That determination was made from the big list to the small list
Yeah.
to get on
Yes.
the Fund 46 project that we knew there was about $1 million. These made the cut.
So these made the cut,
Yes.
but the ones that made the cut aren't ranked by themselves. They were just seeing more of the top lists, to move over.
They're kind of clumped in, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I think the other two
that's fair.
projects were outlined really, when Chris and I talked later last spring. I remember the drain tile and the buildings in the Cornerstone were like, hey, if we'd have money left after doing the network stuff and the Jefferson playground, let's add these in,
Yeah.
like as a matter of priority. There's
Yeah.
a different way to rank them, but that's kind of how
Yeah.
those two came onto the list, if that makes any sense. I don't think we have any true emergency nature aspects of those two projects right now that would need to take precedent. I think that there's such a, dragging of dirt into the school at Jefferson, the fact that it just, any solution that's been either funded through the work of the PTO or the school district just are not successful at this point.
So the drain tile in Madison, that's for that whole field of that.
I believe so.
That's on the east side, on the
Yeah,
west side,
yeah.
because the water's going to the lake.
Right,
It's creating big issues all over that building.
Oh, yeah.
Floor tiles are loose and because of the moisture.
I would say that'd be pretty high.
There's a lot of Mother Nature
Yeah.
problems
Yeah.
at Madison.
What are you looking from us right now, just to move this?
We're
forward?
gonna do a motion.
And then bring it to the full board.
The issue is the Building and Grounds Committee in favor of moving ahead on the Jefferson schoolyard, given what the bids are.
I'll speak to saying that because of the situation that we're in right now with the scope of the vision of where we at with 4 years of in the making of the final solution, we'll call it, of the long-term solution, of us trying to move forward to serve these students in a better way, to keep the facility clean. So we're kind of tied into that this project was kind of idealized 4 years ago. It's moved forward slowly. Obviously, the price has continued to go up. However, the only real thing that I think we could do is if we were gonna redesign the concrete or the AstroTurf. And frankly, I'm trying to say that the people that made the decisions about the vision of this did their due diligence, like we like to say now, right? That it was done in the best manner. So I'll move forward with this because of the hard work that was hopefully put forward to get us to this final solution. So that's where I'm at because of the situation we're in right now.
Yeah, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, he didn't.
I'll make-
You did make
And I'll
the
second the
motion?
motion.
Long-windedly, yes.
Yeah, no, I thought you made the motion and also then
You're
defend
long-winded,
the
but
motion
yes.
that you made.
How long winded you second?
But there is a motion in there to, and you'll second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor of moving the Jefferson Schoolyard project ahead, signify by saying aye. To completion, yeah. Aye.
And I think that does go to the full board for.
It'll go to the full board,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll go to the full board.
Thank you.
So it's a unanimous.
I don't anticipate any issues.
Where are our
This is something that
drawings, our renderings of drawings?
we were very,
Do we have an easel set up?
Not yet.
I need you to,
An easel, I'll work on
I
it.
need to focus
Oh,
on
easel,
that.
yeah.
I need to get everybody.
Do they have a-
understanding
do they have a
what kind of
hardboard?
That is.
One as
I
well.
do not have a hardboard, I only have.
We had that, so I'll ask them to do a
We need a
hardboard.
visualized version to put on the website. as
I
well.
don't
Yeah.
anticipate any issues,
They'll
but
all
yeah,
go
let's
on
make
the
it,
website.
let's try and make it look.
Yeah, we can start doing the PR stuff and
Okay.
we'll meet after this, tomorrow.
But obviously it's got to go to full board. So
Yeah, I'll give them the heads up that where we're at, and then I'll have them give us some PR things to put on different things, and we can,
Ready to go for
Yeah.
the 14th.
we can,
Will they
one
go on
here
to
in the
the
central
14th
office
meeting?
probably.
and one at the school,
I would say at the school, I would say
in this
online,
boardroom.
on the website,
Right, but I'm talking about the, like, physically,
because we're gonna have to defend it.
one here and one at the school, plus the electronic stuff.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, aye?
Okay.
We can still talk, but manage to go to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go home and roll my-
Yeah.
all the way up those- My card just took poops. I just bought
Yeah,
one.
there's a couple of ways we could do it.
Just got a letter from them.
Yeah, what do you think?